Turbo and 2K show.
What's up, 2K crew? Yes, it is that time of the week again, and man, oh man, do we have a big show for you tonight. It's a busy sports time. We've got football, we've got college football, we've got baseball playoffs. We're going to be breaking down what's happened today. We've had 2 tickets punched into the postseason just today, 1 yesterday. We've got the Red Sox, we got the Yankees going. There's NFL tonight. I'm not really super pumped about that, but 49ers and Rams going at it here, probably kicking off right about now. So yeah, I'm super stoked. I'm super stoked, and a proud Cubs fan, Mr. Jeffrey Burton. Go Cubs! Woohoo! Yeah, they didn't seem like they really wanted to win that in the bottom of the ninth there, Jeff. Excuse me, yeah, the top of the ninth there. It really didn't seem like they wanted the game to end quite then. But yeah, it was definitely an adventure if you are a Cubs fan, that's for sure. But yeah, we're going to get into all of that. We've got some baseball news to get into. So without further, and of course, we've got the power rankings for you. We got the picks for you. Didn't do nearly as well this week in picks as last week, but we still do have a winning record. So let's get into it. Let's start off with some news. Biggest news is Cubs win, Tigers win. So we've got like I said, the Yankees, Red Sox going on right now. First pitch is as we speak. Red Sox have a rookie. Actually, both the pitchers in this game are rookies, but Connolly Early, this is his 5th major league start. And if you want my honest opinion, I like it. The kid looked very good his last pretty much every outing, and so I'm perfectly content. We just got to get the bats going. So speaking of bats, Tigers, man, when your offense hits, you guys are a good ball team. But it's been, especially the runners in scoring position, when there's guys on base, this Tigers team has not been good lately at getting those runners across. But the Tigers advance over the Guardians, and I would really like to take the temperature of Guardians fans right now, because you were riding such an amazing high. 15 and a half games back, 0.4% chance to make the playoffs, only to lose in the wild card round to the team that you desperately were chasing, caught, and overcame. So that's not really the ending you really want to see if you're a Guards fan, but just the fact of getting there, you had to be kind of stoked, especially with that squad. We'll see what happens in the off season, but I 2Ks and I were very adamant that we were not buying what Stephen Vogt was putting out on the field, and boy oh boy, were we wrong. They had the biggest comeback in MLB history to dissolve, like I said, a 15 and a half game lead and get the tiebreaker over the Tigers. So yeah, big things happening. So yeah, and we also saw, once the end of the regular season comes, we get the coaching carousel. So we've seen, this is from the MLB Twitter account. Brian Snitker will not return as Braves manager in 2026. Did not know that this gentleman was in the Braves organization for over 40 years. How impressive is that? If you don't follow Chipper Jones on Twitter, you should, because he had nothing but raving things to say about this man. And I'm really curious to see where the Braves go. I mean, Snicker, like I said, took them from pretty much mediocrity or even less than mediocrity to winning a World Series. And winning that World Series without Acuna Jr., which is by far the most impressive part of that. And having a guy like Jock Peterson pretty much put the team on his back and say, let's go. So the Braves not only move on from Snicker, but they also move on from Charlie Morton. So kind of bittersweet, as you would say down in Atlanta. Another one here. This is from Jeff Pass, and Bruce Bochy is out as the manager with the Texas Rangers. The team says he can return as an advisor. Though with multiple jobs open, including the San Francisco Giants, Bochy could pursue an alternate option. And that's the one that really has a lot of us kind of scratching our heads. Is like, is Bochy going back to the Giants? And at this point, it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me at all. So, is there going to be a reunion there in San Francisco? We'll find out here very shortly. Very shortly. Let's see here. The Pirates, they're not moving on from Don Kelly. This is from the Pittsburgh Pirates account. The Pirates announced we have extended the contract of manager Don Kelly. And I, for one, I love this. I absolutely love this. This was the Pirates were a different team once Kelly took over. They were a below 500 team prior to that, and the only real reason people were watching this team was Paul Skeens. And then towards the end of the season, we saw a lot more of the young pitching come through, and hopefully with a healthy Jared Jones coming back, that pitching staff should be loaded. Should be absolutely loaded in a division that is very gettable. Very gettable. Just need to spend some money and get some bats. And the downside of that is that this year's free agent crop of bats is not that good. Is not that good. So am I really expecting big splashes from the Pittsburgh Pirates? No. They have shown nothing in the past. Nothing in their past gives you any inclination that they would, even though they should. This Pirates team was not an offensive juggernaut. They had a extremely aging Andrew McCutchen, who he was like the third best hitter on the team, which is absolutely ridiculous. So it's going to be if you are a Pirates fan and not just a Paul Skeens fan, you need to see O'Neal Cruz take a bigger step. You need to see Brian Reynolds, who you extended, I believe, last year or 2 years ago, get back to form, because this team can only go this is one of those few teams that can only go as far as the offense will take them, because the pitching staff barring injury, is going to be loaded. So Don Kelly is in a very good spot. Let's just hope the Pirates come off some cash and get some new bats in there. And probably the most shocking one here, this is from Fox Sports MLB. Albert Pujols could be returning to the Angels dugout, but as a manager, per Ken Rosenthal. This is kind of weird. If memory serves me correctly, he was managing a team in the World Baseball Classic, or is going to. So is it weird that he really doesn't have any experience and they're just going to give him the keys? Who knows? But it's the Angels. So who in the hell knows? Who in the hell knows? This Angels organization can't even get to the playoffs with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. So don't really think it's the coaching staff per se that's holding this team back. Just a thought. It would be nice to have Mike Trout in the playoffs. I'll be the first to admit that. But if you can't do it with him and Ohtani on the same team, and like I said, with the free agent market that is not going to be loaded with bats, it's going to be interesting. Let's see here. Pirates. And something that's really weird. This is from the Baseball is Dead account. Entire MLB season goes by without a no-hitter. First season since 2005 with no no-hitters. That's 20 years, 2K Crew. That's 20 years since there's been a season where there hasn't been any no-hitters. And if you remember just a couple years back, I mean, there was 6, 7. Seems like there was one every week. And, this year, there's none. I am curious to see how this ABS system, the tap on the helmet, is it a strike, is it not, system is going to be implemented, and just to see how that affects the game, and to see if, it seems like pitchers definitely have the advantage, always have, but it seems like their advantage is much more vast than the hitters. We're definitely not seeing as many hitters hitting 300 as we did even 10 years ago. And with Trey Turner winning the NL batting title with like one of the lowest batting averages to win a batting title is mind-boggling. So going to be interesting, very interesting to see how this progresses and to see if it benefits the hitters or if it benefits the pitchers or it benefits both. Because if you're a Padres fan and you watched the end of that Cubs game, you saw some very egregious calls just in that inning alone. Xander Bogaerts, that was definitely not a strike. That was a good 4 or 5 inches low, and umpire rung him up. So that's after this postseason, that's going to be no more. That's going to be no more. But yeah, this wild card, I wasn't expecting as many game threes as I thought. Most of these would have been sweeps, and we saw the Dodgers beat up on the Reds, a Reds team that probably shouldn't even have been in the playoffs, and might have been a little bit more interesting to watch the Mets versus the Dodgers rather than the Reds. So it is what it is. I mean, the Mets pitching is terrible, whereas the Reds pitching is better. The Mets probably have the edge as far as hitting, but it was a weird. It's a weird postseason without Juan Soto. It's a weird postseason without the Astros. But I think that, would I much rather see Red Sox Yankees as like a DS or CS? Yes. But on the other hand, I'm not mad at it. We saw the Tigers and the Guardians, same division. Okay, I'm fine with that. Especially that one where there were two teams chasing each other and overcoming that large deficit. So one would think that the Tigers were at an extreme disadvantage, not hitting worth shit. And we saw that the first 2 games, even though the Tigers did win the first one. But yesterday we saw the Tigers load the bases at least a couple times and leave every single runner there. And to have a big breakout game like they did today has to be a confidence booster, has to be something that this team can look back on and say, hey, boys, we can do this. We can do this. The jitters are out. We've got 3 games under our belt. Skubal pitched his balls off, and the whole slate of game ones was absolutely amazing. Started off with the Tigers. The Cubs, it is what it is. The Cubs won. And then we saw Crochet, and then we saw Blake Snell. So 3 lefties absolutely dominated. And I did find it rather cool that Crochet, prior to going out to the mound, told Alice Cora that he's only going to the pen once. And sure as shit, is exactly what happened. Now, once he got to the pen, that 9th inning was, I probably lost about 5 years off my life. Loading the bases, nobody out with this Yankees lineup, and it seemed like everyone was just teeing off on Chapman. And for him to come back and be able to not give up a run and strand all those runners was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, and like I said, you fast forward to the Dodgers. Blake Snell goes past the 5th inning for the first time in his whole career in the playoffs, which I thought was rather weird considering how many times he's pitched in the postseason. But he's not known for going very many innings. So I once I thought about it, I'm like, yep, that does pan out. So I think for baseball fans, this is kind of what we all expected. And I don't think any of the outcomes so far should shock anybody. You could say the Tigers advancing, but anytime that they have Skubal on the mound, you have to believe that they have a very, very good chance to win, if not an extremely good chance to win. It's the same thing with the Red Sox when we have Crochet going. As a fan base, we're expecting the team to win. And that's exactly what happened. And I know there's going to be a lot of Yankee fans that are pissed at Aaron Boone, and if I were you, I would be too. Boone takes his starter out. Max Fried takes him out after 102 pitches, and we see Garrett Crochet on the other side go 7 2/3. And then as soon as Fried exits the game, that's when the Red Sox pounce. They took advantage of that bullpen and just ran with it. So yeah, if you're a Yankee fan, I would be upset too. You just paid Max Fried $200+ million to come play for your team. There's no Garrett Cole. So this is your guy. This is your horse. This is your ace. This is who you brought him. You brought him in to do this. And to only limit him to 102 pitches where he was dealing quite well was kind of shocking. Now, I get it. Postseason, starters have a shorter leash. But when it's your dude, it's your G1, your game one starter, the guy you paid an exorbitant amount of money to, especially when the guy in the other dugout's dealing the way that he is, you got to stick with your guy. You got to stick with your guys. So Yankee fans, I can understand why you're upset. Totally get it. Totally get it. So yeah, that's where we're at with baseball. That's where we're at with baseball. So let's get into Turbo's Power Rankings. Turbo's Power Rankings of the week. Just to give you a quick reminder, last week's top 5, we had Colts at 5, Lions at 4, Bucks at 3, Chargers at 2, Bills at 1. And yes, there has been some movement in this list. We saw the Chargers lost. We saw the Bucks lost. We saw the Colts lost. Now, where does that leave us moving forward here in Turbo's Power Rankings? I got to stick with the Colts at 5. I really like this Colts team. Did they lose? Sure did. But what they're doing and how they're doing it, love every minute of it. Love every single minute of it. We talked last week about Danny Dimes. Continues to do it. Continues to do it. And one of the clips that I posted on TikTok, there was a lot of folks saying it's not because Danny Dimes was a horrible player in New York. It's because of the coaching staff and the people in the whole staff around the Giants organization. Saquon left, blows up, wins a Super Bowl, wins a rushing title. Daniel Jones leaves, bounces around a little bit, but ends up in Indianapolis fighting for the starting quarterback job with Anthony Richardson. And you could say the injury, but just kind of the way Richardson played, Daniel Jones gets a starting nod and has taken it and ran with it. And I, for one, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. That whole team, it seems to be a whole different vibe. And if you remember back to last year, Pat McAfee was talking about how the vibes of that team were crappy. People were showing up late to meetings. There was all of these things surrounding the team that just kind of were toxic. And I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is the reason why that change in culture happened, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with it. It has to be. It has to be. So yeah, Colts 5. Number 4, I got to stick with my Bucks, even though they lost. Got to take them from 3 to 4. Got to take them from 3 to 4. This Bucks team could have tied the game on Sunday. Could have tied that game. So I still love what they're doing. Love Baker. Baker is one of the more fun players to watch in the NFL this year. So absolutely love it. Love it. Love it. Give me the Bucks at 4. Number 3, I got to get the Eagles in here. I got to get the Eagles in here. And the reason they have not been on my list so far is because of the offense. Because Jalen Hurts hasn't thrown for, I think, over 200 yards in a game this year. Or if he did, it didn't seem like it. This offense has been rather pedestrian. However, they're still good. They're still good. And, they're one of the 2 undefeated teams left. Bills, Eagles, Yeah, one of 2 undefeated teams left. So a dub's a dub, especially in the NFL. It doesn't really matter if you're, hanging 50 like the Lions do, or if you're winning it kind of ugly. You're still winning games. The Eagles are still winning games, so they're at my number 3. They're at my number 3. Number 2, Lions. The Detroit Lions. Now, if you remember back last week, we were talking about that game with the Browns. The Browns had just come off a thrilling win against the Packers. So how would this defense stack up to the Lions offense? And we saw what happened. So after a rocky week 1, this Lions team has proven to me that they are the same old Lions, the same Lions team that they were last year, but better. And we talked about a little bit last week how I think we're seeing with this defense being healthy. I think as football fans, we got robbed of seeing this whole team last year be complete in doing what they're doing now. And if you're a Lions fan, you have to be just heartbroken that you're seeing this defense do what they're doing now. If you would have easily gotten to the Super Bowl last year had this defense been together and healthy. So yes, it was heartbreaking last year. Sucked that the season started off with a loss, especially to the Green Bay Packers. But you're seeing this team firing on all cylinders. Last week we pumped up the trio of Sonic, Knuckles, and St. Brown, and how historic their start to the season has been, and how great this offense is when all 3 of them score. So add to that this defense that's getting sacks. Hutch is back, and it looks like a whole entirely different team than last year because they're better. Andrew, what's up, kid? How we doing? So yeah, Lions at 2, and number 1 still the Bills. Still the Bills. Bills are the Bills. I mean, they're winning games. They're doing what they should do because they are a very, very good football team. A very good football team. So until someone knocks them off, they're still my number 1. They are still my number 1. So let's get to picks. Last week we went 2-3. Andrew says, out of curiosity, what do you think Baltimore's issue is? To be perfectly honest, their defense is hurt, pretty much all of it. And it's definitely it's not the offense's fault. This team that the defense is Swiss cheese and letting every single person go for 400 yards on them. It's going to be this team is going to be vastly different if Lamar can't go, for sure. So definitely something I'm keeping an eye on. But until the defense gets better, Andrew, I don't know if this team. There's a lot of people that were picking the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, and we've seen, like I said, the defense be absolutely terrible, and and just the amount of Derrick Henry fumbling in the fourth quarter is becoming I don't know if it's like a plague or what, but something's off. But the one thing that I will stand by is that I have a feeling Harbaugh will get it fixed. And whether that's via trade or I don't know, this team has to do something defensively if they're going to compete. The good part is that they're in a division that is still very winnable, even at 1-3. So if you are a Ravens fan, I really wouldn't sweat it too much, but you're treading very, very thin water here. Very thin water. Yeah, we went 2-3 last week, so definitely not the same results as week 1. We went 4-1, then 2-3. So we're sitting at 6-4. We're still up 2 units. No biggie. Still up 2 units. So for those of you that do not know, this is our pick segment where we call it Paycheck and Onions, where I give you 3 games to sprinkle on. The paycheck game is my biggest lock of the week, so I'm betting my whole paycheck. And Onions is the ballsiest pick of the week. Ballsiest pick of the week. So my 3 to sprinkle. Lions at whoops. Yeah, hold on. We got up one is Bills -7.5. They're at home against the Pats. So yeah, give me Bills -7.5. Like I said, this team's a wagon, and they've covered much bigger. And I'm not really sold on this New England team yet. So gotta ride the hot hand here. Next one, Wisconsin comes into Michigan. Michigan's laying 16.5. So give me Michigan -16, or yeah, Michigan -16.5. I know that's a shit ton of points, 2K crew, but it's college football. Now, if this was a pro football game, I'd be going the other way because I really don't think that's just way too many points. Way too many points for a pro game. And this Michigan team is legit, and this Wisconsin team yet again is not. They are not legit. They are the farthest thing from legit. So give me Michigan, and I will give the points. And number 3, the third sprinkle here, Miami at Florida. Give me Miami -4.5. This Miami team's too good. And 4.5 is not a lot of points for that game. So give me Miami -4.5. Paycheck game. Lions at Bengals. This Bengals team is terrible without Joe Burrow, 2K crew. This Bengals defense might be worse than last year. And I know that's saying a ton, but they might be worse than last year. The offense is definitely worse without Joe Burrow, especially looking at a guy who took Jamar Chase, number 2 overall in his fantasy league. Can't have it. So yeah, give me Lions -10.5. Probably the easiest bet on the slate. And that number might go up. So if you want to get it locked in at 10.5, I'd suggest doing it sooner rather than later. But yeah, paycheck game, Lions -10.5. And the Onions pick, Vanderbilt at Alabama. Give me the upset here. Give me Vandy +10.5. Thought about going money line here. Because if you're really going to be ballsy, Vandy's a good team. This Alabama team can be good, but I'm not sold. They're not the Alabama of old, where if this was a Saban-led team, you'd see this number be quite a bit higher. And I'm leaning towards Alabama winning this, but winning a close one. So I will take the points at 10.5. I'll take the points. Give me them points, especially double digits. Give me the points. So let's talk some NFL. Let's look back at last week. And for those of you wondering what the Red Sox-Yankees score is, it's 0-0 bottom 2. 0-0 bottom 2. Last week started off, we had the Seahawks at the Cardinals. Close game. Looked like Kyler and the boys might do this. You know, we saw Marvin Harrison Jr. get started. We saw that that sigh of relief. And I don't know if he was praying or what was going on in the end zone after he caught that touchdown, but maybe that's what Marv needs to get back, because he's way too good of a player. We saw it at Ohio State for a couple years, just be the best wide receiver and probably player on that whole team. So that just doesn't leave. Now, there's rumors that him and Kyler aren't getting along. Whatever. I don't care. The announcers were talking about how, he needs to get this. He needs to get catches to get his confidence back up. Seems like it was the announcer's curse because right after that, Baker throws one to him across the middle. He juggles it, interception. Interception. So I still think Seattle's a very good team, but if you're a Cardinals fan, Maserati Mav, getting going is never a bad thing. Never a bad thing. We had Pittsburgh over Minnesota in Dublin. In Dublin. Um, let's see here. Atlanta over Washington, which was kind of a shocker considering the week prior we saw Penix get pulled from the game, so it was there weren't a whole lot of people very high on Atlanta. So they get a big win over a Washington team where didn't have Jalen Daniels, didn't have Terry McLaurin. So, and there was a lot of Washington fans that are like, well, if Jalen can't go today, that's fine because we're playing Atlanta. We don't need him. We have Marcus Mariota. He can get the job done. Well, he didn't. He didn't. Buffalo beats the Saints. Like we talked about the Lions. Lions roll 34-10 over Cleveland. New England puts up 42 on that Carolina defense. We saw the Jackson Dart show. The Jackson Dart show. They beat a Chargers team at home, which was kind of the shocker of the week for me. That Chargers team, I pumped them up a bunch last week. Hell, they were the number 2 team in my power ranking last week, and to see them just die was rather shocking, especially considering how this team was going. Now, without Malik Neighbors going forward, kind of interested. I'm really interested to see how that kind of dynamic works, especially with a rookie quarterback. So, something else to keep an eye on. Philly beats Tampa 31-25. Like I said, Tampa did have a chance to tie that game. So Baker almost did it again. Almost did it again. So that, and then this Tennessee team is absolute garbage. They get blanked by going into that game, a very bad Texans team. They made the Texans seem like it was 26-0. This Texans team looked on Sunday like a lot of us thought they would look every Sunday, and it just hasn't happened like that. So the Rams beat the Colts. The Jags beat the Niners. This Niners team, 2K crew, jeez, oh Pete's. Jeez, oh Pete's. You talk about a walking just ER. Purdy tried to come back, wasn't having it. Kittle's still out. Bosa's out for the year. I mean, they have a laundry list of people on the IR, and it's going to be quite thrilling to see if Shanahan can keep this team together and can keep players healthy. Keep players healthy. This Kansas City team, we talked last week, there was not a chance in hell that Kansas City could start 1-3. Not a chance. And like we were talking about with Andrew about Baltimore, this defense is terrible. Absolutely terrible. And if Lamar's hammy is going to be barking, I mean, last I checked, Snoop Hundley's still not. He's not in Baltimore anymore. I'm not really sure who their backup is, but it changes the whole dynamic of the team. So it was a must-win for Kansas City. It actually was a must-win for Baltimore too, but that's not the way sports works. Unless you watched Monday or the Sunday night game last week, which was a tie, which was completely terrible. Bears get a 1-point win over Las Vegas, and the aforementioned 40-point tie between the Packers and the Cowboys, the Micah Parsons Bowl. And I thought for sure, 2K crew, that this Green Bay team would go into Jerry World and just beat the shit out of these Cowboys. Defense couldn't stop anybody. Offense wasn't scoring on anybody. And this Green Bay defense was supposed to be good. And you have a Dallas offense without CeeDee Lamb, and they put up 40 points. Put up 40 points. That's weird. That's weird. George Pickens had a coming out party, 134 yards. And then the two terrible Monday night games, Jets at Dolphins, who cares? And Bengals at Broncos. Broncos, this was basically a get-right game. So, terrible Monday night. Terrible Monday night. So where does this leave us standing-wise? We got the Bills atop the AFC East at 4-0. Steelers leading the AFC North. And if you're the Steelers, you have to feel pretty damn good where you're sitting. The Bengals are in second place at 2-2, but those 2 wins seem like forever ago. Ravens at 1-3, and the Browns are the Browns. So, is what it is. Colts and Jags tied atop the AFC South at 3-1. Houston's 1-3, and as Scott Van Pelt would say, the Tennessee Titans are in Poop Town. They are 0-4. AFC West, Chargers 3-1, Kansas City 2-2, Broncos 2-2, Vegas 1-3, excuse me. In the NFC, we've got Eagles at 4-0, Commanders at 2-2, Cowboys and Giants at 1-3. Eagles seem to, they're doing what the Eagles do. Lions are atop the NFC North at 3-1. Green Bay is second, 2-1-1. Fucking tie. This is the NFL. The NFL ends in ties. That's so stupid. So stupid. NFL figured out. So stupid. Vikings and Bears at 2-2. NFC South, Bucks at 3-1, Falcons 2-2, Panthers 1-3, and New Orleans Saints at 0-4. And yet again, another member of Scott Van Pelt's Poop Town. Now, here's the division I wanted to get to, and I wanted to kind of save it for last just because Niners are still leading the NFC West. They're at 3-1. But here's the thing. So are the Seahawks. So are the Rams. And the Cardinals are 2-2. This is going to be an amazing division to keep an eye on. To have 3 teams at 3-1. Now, 3 teams at 3-1. And with the Cardinals being 1 game back at 2-2, this is going to be a fun division to watch. Fun division. So, cannot wait for that. Let's look at this week's slate. Like I said, we've got the Niners, Rams going right now. Minnesota at Cleveland, don't care. Las Vegas at Indianapolis. Indy should take that. They're a 6.5 point favorite. Giants at New Orleans, don't care. Dallas at the Jets, don't care. Denver at Philly. Philly's a 3.5 point favorite. I would take that. Dolphins at Panthers, don't care. Houston at Baltimore, 2 very reeling teams. One of them's got to win. Right? I guess not because we just had a fucking tie. But ultimately, you would think one of these teams has to win. It's just who's going to be crappier. Who's going to be crappier so that the other team can win? And is Lamar going? Right now it's Houston's favored by 2.5. But is that taking into account Lamar starting, or is it with their backup? Because I have a feeling if Lamar's not going, that's going to change that line really quick. So if you're a Texans fan, you get 2 really bad defenses in a row. Maybe this is the momentum that C.J. Stroud and the boys need on offense. I don't know. But it's going to be a barn burner. Titans at Cardinals. Don't care. Tampa Bay at Seattle. That's a game. That's one I want to watch. They have Seattle favored by 3.5. I don't know. I think I might take Tampa and the points on that one. I think I might take Tampa on that. I'm not sold that this Seahawks team is better. We kind of talked about it last week or the week before how this was supposed to be a rebuild. Sam Darnold goes there, gets his bag, seemingly just to do that in the midst of this rebuild, and it's really not a rebuild. This team's good, but so is Tampa. So that's going to be a game I'm really interested in. Lions at Bengals. We already talked about the Lions being favored by 10.5. I think the Lions absolutely roast the Bengals. Commanders at Chargers. I wonder if Jalen's going to be healthy for that one, if he's going. They got Chargers favored by 2.5. New England at Buffalo, 7.5. And the Monday night game. This Monday night game might not be bad. Chiefs at Jags. Kind of a resurgent Jags team. Down in Jacksonville, they have Kansas City favored 3.5. 3.5 after last week. Last week they were, where'd I have them at here? I think that's what it was. Yeah. Kansas City was a 2.5 point dog. 2.5 point dog against Baltimore. They were a dog against Baltimore, and now they're a favorite. And now they're favored against Jacksonville. Jacksonville at home. So I'm actually excited for Monday Night Football. That's going to be a good game. Let's talk some college football now, huh? What do you say? Let's talk some college football. Now, last week, 2K Crew, we had a stellar slate. This week, not so much. Excuse me. But I did want to share this little tweet here. This is from Trav at Tro5. Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price in the last 10 quarters of football. For those of you who don't know, Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price are the running backs for Notre Dame. They have 746 total yards, 15 total touchdowns. The debate on who the best running back duo in college football is officially over. #GoIrish, #ND Absolutely insane what these guys are doing. Offensive line is just moving everybody. And I think what we're going to see and what we're going to see from Jeremiah Love is that it's going to be easier to run the ball this year because CJ Carr can actually throw the ball down the field. We didn't have that part of the repertoire with Riley Leonard. Great leader, winner, got us to the national title game. But that deep threat and the passing proficiency just wasn't there. And with CJ Carr, it is. Went out and got big body receiver transfers, and CJ Carr has been everything as advertised. Love every minute of it. So let's take a cruise down here and see what we got in store for Saturday. Kentucky at Georgia. We already talked Wisconsin, Michigan. Iowa State, Cincinnati. I don't know why I said it like that. Cincinnati. Somehow Penn State's ranked number 7. That was just a terrible, terrible game. Penn State, UCLA. Nice get-right game. Texas at Florida. Thought about flirting with that one. Kind of thought about flirting with that one for the pick segment. I got Texas as a 4.5 point favorite. I need to see what Arch can do on the road in the SEC. I know this is Florida, an unranked Florida team, but I need to see Arch in a big time game. I need that. We talked Vandy, Alabama. Best game so far. That's where game day is going to be. Boise State at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's 20.5 point favorite. Virginia at Louisville. Kent State at Oklahoma. Texas Tech at Houston. Miami, Florida State. That's going to be a good one. Minnesota at Ohio State. See if we could row the boat in the shoe. Doubt it. Miami at Florida State. That should be a good one. That should be a good one. That's on the 7:30 slate, like we talked about in the picks. Miami's -4.5. Take that all day. Take that all day. Mississippi State at Texas A&M. That's it. That's your Saturday slate. I know not every week's going to have absolute bangers like last week, but I need more. I need more. What was that? 2 top 25 matchups. I think we had like 5 last week. And even some games that were really, really interesting where it wasn't 2 top teams playing each other. So college football, I need more. I need more. And like I said, I know we're not going to get absolute bangers every week like we did last week. But find me something in the middle. Find me something in the middle. Come on now. You're better than that. You're better than that. All right. One other thing that I didn't get to with the baseball here, and I know this isn't going to pique everyone's interest, but I thought it was rather interesting. This is from MLB Deadline News. The Braves have claimed right-handed pitcher Alek Manoah off waivers from the Blue Jays per a team's announcement. Now, I might be saying, well, Turbo, why is that interesting? If you remember when Manoah came up with the Blue Jays, he was electric. I mean, I remember for probably 2 seasons in a row, I was picking him to win AL Cy Young. He was that good. That good. Dealt with some injuries and just fell off the face of the earth. And the Blue Jays have been trying everything that they could think of to get him right and just couldn't do it. And the reason I thought this was so interesting is you get a team like the Braves who pick him up, and when you're picking him up off waivers, you're basically getting him for nothing. So why not take a chance on a guy who, like I said, was at one time Cy Young Award material? And if you look at the pitchers the Braves have had, and I know, yes, this isn't the same staff as the ones, Bobby Cox and that crew are not walking out of the dugout. But a place like Atlanta seems to always have very good pitching. And to get someone with this much potential, this much upside, you get him in, kind of that quote unquote pitching lab. Maybe they can iron him out. And to do so when he's that cheap, yeah, I have absolutely no problem with that. Absolutely no problem with that, especially for a team that in the Braves who was vastly underwhelming this season. There was a lot of people picking the Braves to win that division, and they finished terrible. Well, they didn't finish terrible, but played bad the first part of the season, which pretty much sank their whole entire season. So I think it's cool. I 100% think it's cool. I'm glad someone like that is getting another shot somewhere else, different, same face, different place, and just to see if someone can iron him out. Because it's sad when someone is that dominant and then just loses it. And yes, we've seen it before. I think the one that comes to mind quite, right off the bat is Rick Ankiel. Came up with the Cardinals, was a left-handed starter, was just carving and dicing, was supposed to be the next big thing. Next thing you know, he can't find the strike zone. He can't find the plate. He's throwing over batters' heads, and to save his career, teaches himself how to hit and to be an outfielder. And I believe was an all-star at least 1 year doing that. And I'm not saying Manoah is going to come back as a hitter or as an outfielder, but I do think it's cool that someone that was at the top of their game and then just it's gone. And it's been rather weird how the Blue Jays have kind of dealt with this, or if they did deal with it, maybe. I don't know. But just how they've handled it. It's been very weird. Very weird. And from the only thing I could gather is they don't know what to do either. It's not every day that you have a Cy Young candidate just lose it. And if that does happen, how do you fix it? I don't know. It's not something that happens every single day. So I can understand why someone from the outside like myself is going, what in the world's going on? I just don't understand it. But I think the more that we get, kind of removed from it, and it would be really, really cool if the Braves were to get him figured out. We still got zeros, and going into the top of the fourth for Yankees Red Sox. There is a Yankee stat that I'm going to do it. This is a tweet from Mr. Hembo over at ESPN. Aaron Judge last 15 postseason plate appearances and high leverage dates to 2019. So these are his last 15 postseason plate appearances in high leverage situations. Strikeout, single, strikeout, pop out, double play, fly out, strikeout, walk, strikeout, fly out, sac fly, ground out, walk, line out, ground out. He's 1 for 12 with 1 RBI. And I think if you're a Yankee fan, you would agree with me after watching that, watching every postseason that he's played in, just hasn't been there. And if Stanton would not have gone off like he did last year, that team doesn't make it to the World Series. So the guy you're paying the most money in high leverage situations is 1 for 12 going back to 2019. I'm not going to sit here and just dog on Judge because he's a very good player. There's a reason why he's going to win the batting title and quite possibly the MVP. But it's shaping up to be kind of an A-Rod situation. And until he proves everyone wrong and steps up and gets the multiple big hits in pressure situations, this stat is just going to continue and haunt him for the rest of his career. Look at what it did with Clayton Kershaw and Justin Verlander. Two of the best pitchers of this generation not having success in the postseason. If they wouldn't have changed, if they wouldn't have turned that page, yes, they're still Hall of Famers because you can't argue with all the Cy Youngs and the MVPs. You can't argue that. But the lack of hardware, the lack of rings, and just the lack of success in the postseason when we see players come out of nowhere, complete unknowns, just be powerhouses in the postseason. And we can't get a star like Judge to come up with 1 hit in high leverage situations. Can't have it. Can't have it. And I know Yankees fans hate to hear that. And most of them are going to say, well, at least they've made it to the postseason, Turbo. Your Red Sox's first time they made it in 4 years. You're right. I can't argue that. I can't argue that. But this team goes as Judge goes. And more often than not, he comes up empty in the postseason. It's facts. It's not me being a hater. That's facts. And I was almost not going to share that just because I didn't want to poke the bear. I didn't want to put that into the ether, as they say, and have him just go off tonight. But I figured, what the heck? What the heck? Hembo did it, so it's already out there. So it's not like I came up with the stat. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Well, 2K crew, I think I'm going to get out of here for the night. Everyone have a great week. Go Red Sox. Beat the Yankees. Hope everyone's bets hits. Let me know. Let me know your big wins of the week. Love to hear them. Love to hear them. Well, 2K crew, I'll get you out of here on that. Everyone have a great week. Enjoy your weekend. And I will see you next time. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.